let's just say it like it is. Like, there is a ceiling and he hit it.
Everyone acts like a football is like the size of a mini fridge.
Eli Apple said it best. That Chiefs pack hits different, dude, every single time.
All right, welcome back to Frat Leaks. Today we are going over the state of the AFC North. Yeah, I feel like there are two teams going in one direction, some teams going this way, and some other teams going down. So, like, we got four teams all at very different points of their season, which is really weird. But let's get into it. I guess let's start with the team no one cares about, the Cleveland Browns. What are we thinking about the Browns? I mean, let's be real. Adding Deshaun Watson does absolutely nothing for the Browns. And I'm just going to say that. I don't think it does. Did we see his performance against the Texans?
I mean, the guy hasn't played football in a long time. I'll give him that. Like, the last thing I'm going to do is sit here and defend Deshaun Watson. That's just not the type of guy I am. But, yeah, I mean, they scored off special teams and 2 defensive touchdowns against the Texans, like you said.
They didn't score on offense.
No, their offense was atrocious. Nick Chubb got me 8 fantasy points. I was very upset with that. It was just Deshaun Watson. They were really committed to the RPO, and he looked horrible. He left a lot of throws short, and he opened up and said it post game. He was like, "I'm gonna have to play 100 times better next week if we want to win games." Just, you could definitely tell this man has not played in an NFL game in a few years, and he can't play like that against the Bengals, man.
Yeah,
I don't
feel
think.
like. Oh god.
No, go into it, Aiden.
I feel like that he had one drive, and we're all like, "Oh yeah, he hasn't played football for the better part of 2 years." Like, I don't know why any of us or anybody expected them to everyone was always with the mindset like Jacoby Brissett's gonna float us through the first 11 games, and Deshaun Watson's coming in, and we're going to the playoffs. Like, when you don't play NFL football for
2 years,
two years,
over 700 days, 700 days,
then you're not going to be good.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, if Deshaun Watson from 2 years ago joined this Browns team, they would be very good. Same thing with sort of like when Le'Veon sat out a year. Not being in the NFL, like, you can say, "Oh, I've been keeping in shape. I've been doing this, working out, doing all the NFL workouts." Being in a live action game is so much different. That's why, like, we have the preseason to warm these guys up. Deshaun Watson played in one preseason game, completed like 2 of 7 passes, looked god awful, and then was like, "All right, I'll see you guys in week 14," and then dipped for the rest of it. Like, I just don't see how he's like shown anything to the Browns that, like, this is our guy. And before any of this even happened, they committed $250 million to him, fully guaranteed. So I don't feel bad for the Browns at all being in this situation, and I hope Deshaun continues to suck.
Yeah, being on a team where the shoe's always on the other foot in this similar scenario, circa 2006, 2009, all the shit they gave us, like, I do not feel bad at all because they look super hypocritical. Like, I had to say separate the art from the artist and all that shit, just to support my football team for a while. And now they're like, after all the shit they gave me, I do not have any sympathy whatsoever. Like, this is gonna suck.
Not at all.
You know that.
Yeah. And
we didn't pay Ben $250 million fully guaranteed.
Yeah. Without even seeing him play for 2 years.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. See, did you want to go through the schedule for these guys?
Yeah, so their last 5 games of the season, they're sitting at 5-7. They're going to Cincinnati, who they notoriously just beat every single time. I'm pretty sure they're 5-0 since Joe Burrow's entered the league against him, but that's another story. And then after that, just look at the defenses they play. They go 2 home games against Baltimore and the Saints, 2 really good defenses.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 games of the season, they hit the road against the Commanders and Pittsburgh. So, I mean, like, you couldn't have had a better warm-up game for Deshaun Watson than going against the Texans right there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like we were just saying, it's not like he showed any sorts of because even if he would have thrown for 400 yards, everyone would have been like, it's the Texans, like, here's his real test. His warm-up cakewalk was where he struggled the most. So, like, I have very little expectations for him.
They're all 1 o'clock games except for the Baltimore games at 4:30.
It got
all
moved to
these
Saturday. It got moved to a Saturday today. Like, why did we move that to Saturday?
all these defenses are top of the NFL, and they got elite pass rushers that are going to be coming after them. And I mean, the Bengals got Hendrickson. The Baltimore Ravens, I know they just lost Patrick Queen and Lamar Jackson, but somehow the Ravens always.
Although Patrick Queen, he wins the Oscar this year, and everyone was bullying for it. Homie got carted off the field for a thigh bruise, and he says Harbaugh stood up for him and said that on the field, PQ said he didn't need to be carted off, but I think he's just trying to help a homie out because this man walked into a lot of Oscars sitting in his locker.
That's a tough scene.
I know you were saying, why did that get moved to a Saturday? I think the NFL is like ashamed, like of just how everything handles. They try to shush it and like cover it with something else so much that like it doesn't. Yeah, it's not that surprising. No, I'm not saying you're done for saying it was surprising. I'm saying like, if you think about it that way, it's like it's not that surprising.
Yeah, they just don't want him being. Although I guess moving him to Saturday kind of puts him in the spotlight, unless they think that like the Ravens are going to embarrass him. And they're like, let's have everyone watch it.
I wonder if they were like, hey, let's move it to Saturday because everyone's going to be watching the Army-Navy game.
Yeah. Ooh, speaking of, I need to bet the
you don't
under.
support the troops, Hayden?
I do, but let's not act like, didn't even Donald Trump say, like, I went to the Army-Navy game. Not the best athletes out there on the field, but we're really proud of our guys or something like that. But, like, it's cool. Honestly, what I'll do is I'd rather watch the 3 hours beforehand because there's like all the ceremonies and the walk and all that shit. The actual football game
is bad.
It's like it's like a time machine, bro.
Every year I do my American civil duty and bet the under, and it is cashed, I think, 17 years in a row. So just automatic.
I don't know, dude. I would watch the over to hit this year because Navy is like a scoring machine. Somehow, I don't like if you look at a lot of their scores, I think they beat. And now, granted, it was like some poo-poo team, but they beat some team like 54 or something. So they score some. They be scoring.
I think it's just something about the military, man. Army versus Navy. It's just like they take pride in who has the best defense. I don't know. I feel like they just go into that game and say, like, we're not going to win this game playing offense. We're going to win this game playing defense. Like, each team wants like, they want to be on defense the whole time. I don't even think the offense wants to be on the field.
And you know who that low-key reminds me of? A team that I was going to bring up earlier. I know this is AFC North. The Washington Commanders are so feisty. They are so feisty. I mean, like, if you look up feisty in the dictionary, it's just the Washington Commanders because you go into the game and you're like, okay, who should we really be afraid of on this team? And it's nobody. Like, don't get me wrong, it's nobody. But they're feisty. Like, they are just going to claw and annoy you the entire game, and then they sometimes pull it off. And it's crazy. It really, they're gonna make the offs. I really think they're gonna make the offs.
They're gonna get, aren't they? They're getting Chase Young back, aren't they? And their defensive line is disgusting.
They just tied with the Giants. They have a bye week, and then they play the Giants again. So, like, I think they're coming. All right, but
I think Taylor Heineke too. Like you said, they're a bunch of nobodies, but put them together and like they are insane.
They just care.
I've had Taylor Heineke. Yeah, I've had Taylor Heineke on my fantasy team as my starting quarterback, and he's been balling. I don't know how, because he'll throw like a couple interceptions and he'll still put up 20-something points. So he's doing something, bro.
I have always, Zach can attest to this, I've always said this. You got to watch out for the boys that love the game. They got a bunch of gamers, dude. They just got a bunch of guys that fucking love football. That's it. They just love the football game. They love it. You got to watch out for the guys who love the game.
I love it. All right, back to the AFC North. Are we good with the Browns? I feel like we all kind of are on the same page. We're not true believers in the Browns.
I think I'd say this. They're battling with the Steelers for last.
Yeah, I see. What best case they win 7 games, 8 games. I mean, that's if they ball out.
I'm gonna predict they go 2-3 in that stretch. I don't know the way that they play the Bengals. They look like the Pats dynasty, so I wouldn't be surprised if they pick one from us right there. And then I think they'll be either the Saints or the Commanders. Not sure which one.
I think they could beat us. They'll beat us. They could beat us because Huntley's going to be playing. So We'll see. That's all going to depend on that. But let's move on to the next team right above them, third place still. Still looking for their possibly first losing season in the Mike Tomlin era. Talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, Hayden, let's just let you kick it off. How are the Steelers doing? What's the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
All right. So when it comes to most sports, I always have a more laid back, lackadaisical approach in thought. In the game time, I'm probably super aggressive and annoying and whatever. But my thing is, I came into this season not expecting jack shit. Like, I knew it was going to be pretty bad. The first half of the season, I was like, wow, this is way worse than I thought, but still pretty bad. I was just kind of like, I knew it was going to be like a growing year, seeing Kenny Pickett come into fruition, see if Mitch Trubisky balls out, just see how the defense responds, things like that. So, like, first half sucked. After the bye week, Najee found his running game. Receivers are coming alive. Kenny Pickett's growing. Like, literally, I'm my vibe of, like, I can't explain it in words, but just like laying back, I'm just like, okay. It's like I'm looking at it with a monocle, and I'm like, yes, it's very nice, but let's see what they do in the second act. You know what I'm saying?
So, are you at all concerned about the George Pickens comments about
Not at all. Glad you bring it up, actually.
Fill me
Mike Tomlin said
in.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So pretty much George Pickens was seen screaming on the sidelines to throw him the fucking ball. And then after the game, he went up and apparently made it known to the coaching staff that he is not happy with how he was used that game and not getting the ball. Because he was targeted, I think only once. And here's the only thing. That is bold for a second-round pick in your rookie year. That's the only thing. I love the fire because I think he's the best receiver that the Steelers have. He spoke nothing but facts, but I think as a rookie, there are like you got to try to hide that stuff and say stuff behind closed doors. But once again, what was the one thing everyone said about George Pickens going into the NFL? One of the most talented receivers you'll ever see, maybe out of the league in 3 years because he gets kicked out. Like that's what he is. I was okay with the Ravens taking him and taking that chance. Like, whoever gets him, they knew we're getting a stud. He just may punch your coach in the face. Like, that kind of vibe.
Well, so that's honestly, I'm glad you bring it up. I don't mind at all. That offense has the defense has Minka Fitzpatrick, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward as like voices and attitudes and things like that. The offense has fucking nobody, bro. I can't even name you our starting five right now. I probably could, but like you're gonna be like who? You know what I'm saying? Like they're doing good enough to not be called like awful, but they're not standing out. They're not being loud. George Pickens has got that fucking dog in him, and he's like letting it known like I have a lot of talent and I need to be used. Like if I was him and I knew how much talent I did have, and I wasn't being used, then I'd be like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin even said like I'm glad to see it. Like I like to see someone with that drive, which is why I want to throw out right now. Ravens Steelers, the odds for George Pickens to score a touchdown are going to be very nice because he hasn't scored one in forever. Fucking bet that shit. I know the Ravens secondary is disgusting.
No, I'm telling you right now, George Pickens and Marcus Peters are getting kicked out in the first quarter for fighting. Like I'm telling you it right now. Like I've been starting George Pickens in fantasy the past few weeks. I'm not because I sincerely believe that both of them are getting tossed in the first quarter. Like they are just both.
That is going to be awesome.
Guys. Yeah. Like they are just. Peters is going to definitely ask to just guard him because he's going to want to talk shit and get the young kid kicked out. The only problem is Peters also doesn't have like I'm going to let him throw the first punch and then get him kicked out. Peters is like, oh, he looked at me. We're both swinging. Like that kind of vibe. So it's going to be that matchup is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
From a bystander, from a Bengals fan, I wasn't like very excited for this Steelers Ravens game. I thought it was like there's no Lamar Jackson. Thought it might be a little boring, but that kind of just got me pumped up for it. That kind of just gave me a reason to like.
It's gonna be
a little hype.
Interesting.
Because no, that's very true. Two dudes that both got huge attitudes. They definitely won't take any shit from each other.
It's going to be a lot of the play will be ended, and you're going to see them holding each other up by their like collars every single time.
I love it.
Hayden, I do have to ask you this sincerely. Are you okay with the fact that Kenny Pickett wears 2 gloves at the quarterback position?
Yeah.
I can't root for it. I'm telling you this right now. Every time I watch him, it annoys me. It does.
Wearing
I
two
don't like it.
gloves. Wearing 2 gloves is safe. Prevents pregnancies. I'll just say, like, it helps. If it helps him grip the ball better, do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like when the receivers in the 70s wore stick 'em. Like, yeah, it looks a little whack. Everybody knows it's not really like your true catch or spin. But dude, if it helps him throw the ball better, all for it. If he wins games, I'll love it. If he loses them, it's kind of fucking lame.
It's just I just every time I watch him, like he steps back and the 2 gloves on the ball, I'm just it gets me upset. I'm just gonna put it like that. It upsets me. It
Well,
really
then you
does.
might want to pray in his downfall because if he blows up, all the kids are gonna start wearing 2 gloves too. So
That's why I never rooted for Teddy Bridgewater. I'm just gonna put it out there.
I think
No,
you
You think
mean
it
that,
has?
if
Bridgewater.
You think it has something to do with his hand size?
that
Okay, well, my thing with that
oh
whole thing.
now okay.
No, everyone acts like a football is like the size of a mini fridge. It's not that big, bro. Like we have the same size as high schoolers. It's not crazy to hold a football, even if your hands are small. And if you have big arms, I can guarantee you can throw the ball down the field. Like it's not big, and everyone's like, "Oh, his hand," and they're acting like he's got like little tiny hands trying to grab a thing. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I'm so glad I asked that question.
Oh,
He
let's
acts
look at
like
the
it's the size
Steelers.
of a mini fridge. That's so true, then, dude.
Yeah,
God
football's
damn.
not that big, and it's got grips. It's got grips on it, bro. The whole thing
Oh,
is
that's
grip.
funny.
All right, let's look at the Steelers' remaining schedule. They got Baltimore, and then who's after that, Sini?
Dude, I'm glad you
Uh,
asked that too because it is a nice schedule to end on.
It is a very okay. So, side note, I have a $50 friendly wager with shout out Alex Hewitt. $50 friendly wager.
Oh
And
yeah,
we set in the preseason that I said the Steelers would finish 3rd or 4th in the division and be under 500. So I'm really concerned. Steelers are 5-7, and this is their remaining schedule. Not to mention they just played Atlanta. Not to mention they played the Colts before that, but that's another different story. They're at home against Baltimore without Lamar Jackson. They travel to Carolina and play the Panthers. Another home game against the Raiders. Play Baltimore again on the road, and then end up week 14 at home versus the Browns. The Steelers got a very good defense. They're sitting at 5-7. They win. What are they? You play 17 games now. They're 5-7. Looking at
you need
this,
them.
I would be.
You need them to go 3-2.
3-2. 3-2. 3-2. That's it. 3-2.
That's very. I think that is like, from a Ravens fan, I think that's very like. I'd feel good that I think 3 wins is kind of where they max out right now in the final 5 games.
4-1. Okay, and keep in mind, like this also isn't another knock at the Steelers. The Steelers are a team that like I wouldn't like. I don't want to play them. They got really good defense. You know how the Bengals do their offensive linemen. They play any defensive lineman that is a pass rush threat. They've won 2 straight. If you would tell me that this Steelers team would end the season on a 6-1 run, I would be very, very shocked.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Hayden, what are your thoughts on the final 5 games?
So I think, especially with Lamar being out, I think we have a chance to go at least 1-1 with the Ravens, possibly 2-0, but also very possibly 0-2.
Yeah,
Raiders,
doesn't matter who plays in those games.
Right. Browns, we already talked about. We hate Deshaun Watson, so I'm just going to pray on his downfall. Browns, I think we win. Raiders it's the 50th anniversary night of the Immaculate Reception that we did against the Raiders. If we lose that game, bro, sell the fucking team. The one I worry about, bro, is I thought this is where you're going to go with this, Cini. The Steelers have a horrendous reputation of beating superior opponents to like equal opponents and then losing to just awful teams. And that's why I'm scared we're going to lose against the Panthers out of, like, the whole schedule. That's the game that scares me the most because that'd be the most embarrassing.
Dude, the Panthers are like every other game, like they're playing like someone terrible. It's like, oh, they're 14.5-point dogs. Like they play well. Like they play very well against. Didn't they play well against the Ravens a couple weeks ago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Played well against the Ravens. They whooped the Bucks. They beat the Bucks. Like they played really well against good teams, but then like they played. Their division is so terrible. All I'm
gonna say is with the Raiders, not to rain on your parade. They are 3-0 since Derek Carr cried at his post-game press conference. So something to keep in mind. He has not lost since a tear was shed, while describing their loss to the Colts with the head coach who was literally hired minutes, 2 days beforehand with no coaching experience. So it makes sense why you cry, but maybe Russell Wilson needs to start crying in the press game.
I hear that stat, and I raise you this stat. My dad had talked about, so every year, me and my dad try to go to these one Steeler game since I was 7 in 2005. We've gone every year except one, but 1 year I went 2. So let's just consider that once a season since 2005. My dad said he's gonna try to go get tickets to that game. That's the game we're gonna go to. So I will be at that game, hopefully. Star quotation, whatever. I am, if that's 2005, 2021, what is that?
16 years.
16, 17 years?
Yeah.
Probably 17 games, yeah.
Every game I've been to, they've lost 1. So I am like 15-1 when.
What was the one game they lost?
It was the Jesse James Patriots game.
No.
Where
that was recent.
It was 2017 or 18. It's where he didn't catch it, but he fucking caught it, bro. Dude, I was so mad. I didn't speak, I didn't text, I didn't say anything to anybody for like 12 hours, bro. I was so angry. I was so mad. Not that I could be lost, but in the way that
there's still Twitter accounts that I see where it's like days since Jesse James caught the football.
Yeah.
And like they're still going. It
was such a roller coaster of emotions because right before that, rookie Juju Smith-Schuster had a crazy. We had like a minute and 10 seconds left to go 90 yards. He had a crazy 70-yard catch and run. And so we're all up high. Jesse James catches it and dives in the end zone. Everyone's losing their fucking mind. I had stood up and screamed, "Fuck you, Tom Brady!" Just dancing, screaming. I was so up, and then just. Oh my God, bro. One of the worst days of my life. I will highlight that. Go ahead, Zach. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's almost like the reverse opposite of me with the Antonio Brown, reach across where it was we stopped him and then he got in. For you guys, it was he got in. And that was wait, what do you mean? He's in. He caught it. And then the refs were we don't know what a catch is. And then they're we have to have the Patriots win this. So then they just gave it to the Patriots.
Yep.
They actually asked Brady about that recently, I feel like. Was it Brady or Ben they asked about it? It was in an interview.
I blocked it all out, man.
Yeah, I think Brady, and might be totally off, but I'm pretty sure it was Brady said recently in an interview, he was like, "Oh yeah, no, he caught that." And because those Steelers fans were like the same sort of thing where he was asked him about the tuck rule, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, I fumbled that one." And he just he thinks it's so funny to just admit now to all these things because he's like, "What are you gonna do?" I still won all these Super Bowls. He's like, "Yeah, I fumbled against the Raiders." Yeah, no, Jesse James was actually that was a catch. He doesn't care. He'd probably, if he played for the Steelers, he would admit that Santonio Holmes was out of bounds. That's how good he is.
He was not out of. Don't you ever say that shit, bro. That was 2 feet tucked inbound. Oh my God! Don't ever let me hear you say that ever again. That was the best day of my life. But I was gonna say
the worst.
As awful and low and bad as that experience was, the rest of the games I've been to, a majority of them have been fucking bananas. First game I ever went to was Jerome Bettis' last home game. 2 years later, I went to a Browns Steelers game where the Browns were up by like 14 points or like 17 points at one point. And we came back and won. Ben Roethlisberger had like a 35-yard touchdown run, which like never happens.
Yeah.
Following year was 08. It was against the Cowboys. Deshae Townsend had a game-winning pick six, and it was bananas. Following year, we played the Packers, and Mike Wallace caught it with 0.0 seconds left to win the game. There's been so many crazy games that I've been at. The 2016 Immaculate Extension, like you just mentioned, I was at that game.
You were, damn.
Yeah, so I've been to some absolute bananas games, like I said. So if the Steelers do lose, whatever, but I guarantee you it'll be wild. It's like
So do you think Tomlin keeps the streak going? He's got to go what 4-1 now officially.
Dude, I don't know. Tomlin's a different animal in December. Like he applies that pressure in December, bro. I'm telling you. Like I think we got 1-1. Hopefully we beat the Panthers and the Raiders. I think you guys probably beat us second time in Baltimore, and then
that'll probably be Lamar's first game back too.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the second place team in the standings, the Cincinnati Bengals.
I've been ready for this.
How are we feeling, Sini?
We're playing some really good football. We were playing. Eli Apple said it best. That Chiefs pack hits different, dude. Every single time we go out, we play the Chiefs. From the first quarter, man, we smacked them in the mouth. We went up 14-3, and for once, it was just like, damn, like we're playing some really good ball, and it hurts. I'm not going to get into the Ravens. Not saying they don't earn the first place right now. Like, it is what it is, but they're playing really bad football, and they just keep sneaking away wins versus bad teams, and it kind of breaks my heart that we're second in the division and we should be first, but that's a whole different story. I was really expecting, and I wrote this in my blog. Don't know if anybody read it. Go read that if you haven't, by the way, for anybody out there.
Do it.
I really thought Jamar Chase was going to be more of a decoy, and he had 7 catches for 97 yards and had one really big play for 40. I was expecting T. Higgins to have a big game. Justin Reed still somehow is on Twitter talking shit, pulling an Eli Apple. Pulling an Eli Apple right now. He's saying I was right. Like,
okay. Yeah, that was crazy. I saw him. He was like unpopular opinion because he knows he's the only one who thinks that. Like,
and I'm also unpopular opinion because everyone saw Samaje Perine face fuck you, but whatever.
What was the unpopular opinion? I didn't see that.
Justin Reed has been talking shit all week about like not knowing who T. Higgins is when he was talking about Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst ended up getting injured, and then T. Higgins caught a touchdown. Basically, Justin Reed said he was going to lock up whoever he was across the whole game.
And then after they lost, he was like, unpopular opinion. He was like, I was right even though we lost. And like something like that, which is just like, he typed that out and really was like, this is the one. Like, that's so crazy. Like, that's crazy. He had to say, despite the loss at the end. Like, that's when you have to have, like, people need social media managers to be like, dude, you cannot tweet this. Like, this is stupid.
Right. But I don't know. I've said it since the beginning of the season, the Bengals have a very tough schedule. I'm really pleased with being 8-4 right now. I think my prediction at the beginning of the year was 10-7 with a wild card spot. Right now, I'm looking at 11-6 with the remaining games that we have. We could very much run the table with we play the boy that we just did last week. We could win the next 5 games and earn that top seed in the AFC. I don't think we will go 5-0 during this stretch. It's just a lot of tough teams, a lot of tough defenses we're going to go against, and I need everybody to stay healthy.
So going in through the next 5, who do you think your guys' losses are going to be?
So I actually predict 3-2 throughout this stretch. We're going to beat Cleveland, man. It is time. We got to beat Cleveland. We traveled to Tampa Bay and New England. And then we got Buffalo at home, and then we end the season with the Ravens at home week 18, which very well could be for the division. I think we lose 1 to New England or Tampa Bay. I don't think we should lose.
That's a tough back-to-back Brady and
Right.
Belichick.
I don't think we should lose either one of those games, but I just feel like that's one of those that you lose one. I'm just going to be realistic here and say that we're gonna lose to the Bills. I'd love to see him play the way that we did Sunday. If we play our best football, we can by all means beat the Bills. I'm just trying to, like I said, be realistic. And I think we beat the Ravens at home week 18, January. I really do. If that comes down for the division, I think you're going to have both teams giving it their all. It's just going to come down to who can score more points.
Yeah, that one's going to be interesting. I think the Bills game is going to be there. It'll be interesting to see at that point in the season, because let's say depending on what the Ravens do and what the Bengals are doing, that could be a must win because of the Ravens tiebreak, head-to-head tiebreaker right now. If the Ravens were somehow to go 4-0 over these next 4 weeks, which they're not, but let's just say they do, that would create a must win for the Bengals, or else it's a game and a half back with only a game there. So
there's a lot of hypotheticals.
I think you guys beat the Bills. I do. I think you guys beat the Bills.
I would love it. It'd be great momentum going into playoffs. I think that New England game is a must win. I'm just gonna. I'd love to go 2-0 against Cleveland and Tampa Bay. I think we'll be 1-1, and then that's going to make that New England game a must-win, because I'm not too sure who the Patriots play, but depending on who it is these next 2 weeks that they have, that Bengals game could definitely be a big wild card placement game.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think the Bengals are either it's going to be, I think the Ravens and Bengals are going to flip-flop the division or the 7 seed. I think that's just going to be, or no, not 7 seed, 5 seed. I think, I think Miami's going to kind of fall off and get that 5, 4, 6 seed, if I could count. 6 seed, because I think Buffalo is going to take over that division. And I think it's going to come down to tiebreakers with Miami for who's 5 and who's 6. But I mean, it's going to be a toss-up. I really think so, especially with the Ravens. Despite not having Lamar Jackson, I guess we can kind of blend these two together. Not having Lamar, but it's an easier schedule. I think I think the Ravens go 2-1 over the course of the 3 games without Lamar. I think we steal one of the ones versus Steelers or the Browns, and then we win against Atlanta. Lamar comes back, and I think we beat the Steelers at home. If Lamar's there, especially if we lose to the Steelers this week, I don't see any way we lose to them at home. And then I think, like you said, I think if it's not already being discussed to be flexed, there is zero reason the Ravens and Bengals should not be the Sunday Night Football game in Week 18. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I mean, you have one of the most, historical divisions, just overall with all the teams in it. Even the Browns, I mean, historically, just the laughing stock of the league. Everything about the division's historical. And, just 2 great teams, 2 top quarterbacks. That's got to be the Sunday Night Football game, Week 18. And if the NFL wants revenue, that's what they're going to do. But I think, like you said, I think that ends up being for the division. I think the Ravens go 4-1 over the next 5 games, 3-2 at worst. Hopefully the defense we're getting Marcus Williams back. The boys are coming. I mean, it's just about getting healthy. It's just about getting healthy. Lamar has no one, literally no one. He's playing by himself. He is literally just running around and hoping that Mark Andrews gets open. We have no concept in the red zone. It is pathetic. Then we do nothing but run 13 personnel with Lamar Jackson. Everyone's like, why are we just running with a fullback? Let's expand the offense. You get these guys something. Lamar goes down immediately. We just run straight 11 personnel. I don't know what vendetta Greg Roman has against Lamar Jackson, but he's actually running a good offense with Tyler Huntley, short passes that get guys in motion and stuff. Not just Mark Andrews goes 20 yards deep, Devin Duvernay goes 20 yards deep, then we have a check down. And that's all Greg Roman does. And he thinks because we run a play action beforehand, that defenses are going to be oh, shit. And you just watch the motion, and then you're like, oh, it's the same 7 plays they've run in a row. And then Greg Roman's like, I wonder why the offense is just not doing well. It's like, well, when I'm standing there staring at the TV going, send him in motion, and then he does, and I'm like, up, stop him, bring him back, and then they do it word for word as I'm calling it. I'm like, I know the defense knows. Like, I just watch the games once, sometimes twice. They've watched film all week. Like, it's just pathetic. We're in first place, the Ravens. We are not playing first place ball by any means. We are in a complete downward spiral, but it's good to be on the other end of these recent games where we should not be winning against these bad teams, and we are, instead of when we were whooping these good teams and then found a way to lose. So I'm just hoping like the earth's kind of correcting itself right now, and then like we'll hit our stride as we get Lamar back. But Ravens are not a Super Bowl contender right now. I'm just going to be real. It's nowhere close to being either. We have there's no one you even like worry about on that offense besides Lamar. And you can't win like that. We're going to have to win off defense. That's simple as that. There's my rant.
You get it all out.
Yeah, it's so pathetic the way we
like
Lamar should leave. Lamar's got
okay, yeah. You needed it. You needed to get that off. Where I stand with the Ravens, watching the way that they played the last 2 weeks, they got they played really bad against the Panthers. They lost to the Jaguars, and they played awful last week against the Broncos. 3 of the worst teams in the league. I'm just going to keep it real with you. That's why it hurts so bad that they're in first place, because the Bengals are playing their best ball and the Ravens are playing their worst ball. And right now, like where I stand, like I said, it hurts because the Ravens are just not a good team right now. They would, regardless of where they end up in the playoffs, it's a first round exit. It's just the Bengals being 1-3, I believe. I think 1-3 in the division. 1-2 or 1-3. It is. It's pitiful, man. Like those games at the beginning of the year, you don't get back. Like you said, the Ravens were playing really well at the beginning of the year. There was a time in the season that I was like, damn, this team might like be a Super Bowl contender. Right now, that is completely eliminated.
Yeah,
they aren't a good team, and their defense is great. We
have the best defense in the league when everyone's playing.
Defense is great.
Simply it's the offense, and people sit there and they question. They're like, why are we relying on the defense? Because we put 80% of our fucking payroll into the defense. Like, we don't have playmakers on offense. We got Mark Andrews on a steal. We signed him before his breakout year, and it's a steal. Why would Lamar Jackson want to come back to this team? We have an offense that gets run in 8th grade. Like, Greg Roman runs an 8th grade offense. I remember running Waggle my freshman year of football like 9 straight times, and that's what we do. We just run Waggle. And it makes no sense. We have no creativity, nothing. We think that just because we send the same guy in motion like 4 times, like that's going to do something. It's an issue when your fullback 3 straight years shatters the fullback record for amount of catches. Like, that just should not happen. Especially when your fullback isn't a fullback and he's a defensive tackle turned fullback. That should not happen. He should not be the record holder 3 straight years for fullback. Like, it's just crazy. But no, I agree. We are not Super Bowl contenders. We're nowhere close at this moment. And if nothing gets changed, we never will be. Greg Roman, people give him a lot of unwarranted hate. His offense has hit its ceiling. Like, let's just say it like it is. Like, there is a ceiling and he hit it. Like, everyone keeps asking, what's changed? I love this thing on ESPN when they'll say, what's changed about Lamar Jackson between 2019 and 2022? And it's a stupid question because the answer is nothing. Nothing. We run the exact same plays. We have less targets. And then we sit there and ask ourselves, why is the league starting to figure it out? We've run the same plays for 4 years now, and we're wondering why guys are starting to catch on. And it's just stupid. We run a better offense when Tyler Huntley's on the field because they simplify it and don't have Lamar try to play hero ball. And it's so sad to watch. I feel bad for Lamar, and I would not hold it against him if he left. I wouldn't.
So you're saying Lamar is like a detriment to the Ravens? That's crazy, man.
Yeah, he's too good. He's too good, and we assume that he can just win with everything. He just, unfortunately, he's so good at winning by himself that we're like, bet. So we're gonna like give a lot of money to like our kicker. Like that's just what we're. And I mean,
So now you're saying Justin Tucker shouldn't have been paid. Aha, a lot of true colors coming out in you, Zachary.
yeah. Well, actually, at this point, we just get to the 50 and let Tucker kick. So he's our second best offensive weapon. It's given me major 2000 Ravens vibes. Didn't score a touchdown for 5 weeks and then won the Super Bowl. If that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. Okay, my Ravens rant has concluded.
Did you guys see where I don't know who the defender was against Justin Jefferson this past week, but he was like, I locked his shit up, and then JJ.
What is Sauce? What is Sauce?
Was it Sauce?
For the Jets? Didn't the Jets play him?
Yes. Oh, no,
whoever it was, he was just like, man, you didn't lock up shit. Safety help doesn't count. When the coach wants to let you come do one-on-ones, let me know, my boy. I was like, oh,
I did see that. And then did you see he replied with something that made him seem like it was even worse. He was like, well, obviously when I'm playing against the best player on the other team, like they're going to hit me with some help. And everyone's like, but I thought you were like a top corner who didn't need help. That's what you were saying. And he just like was backtracking in the comments. It was bad. It was one of those things you just kind of like hit him with a like and you move on with life.
I don't mean to go off topic, but the Cubs just signed Cody Bellinger to $17.5 million. That is way too much. That's absurd.
That
$17.5 million for 1 year for him? He bats 220.
Jeff Passan just said $17.5 million would be quite the discount. The Dodgers cut him because they didn't want to pay him 18. Like that's literally just $1 million discount. One for, like you said, Cini, a guy who doesn't like hit well right now.
It was DJ Reed. That's what it was. DJ Reed.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, DJ Reed.
This comment says, today I had an exam in school. When I was done, I raised my hand and yelled, John Heyman. My teacher smiled and took my paper. She knew I was finished. Oh, shit. What else we got left on the table?
I think that's it. Anyone else got any comments on the AFC North that they want to get off their chest? I think we all kind of agree right now.
Second best tight end in the division behind Mark Andrews. Pat Freiermuth and Cam Hayward were both the top 2 rated tight ends last week. The next best was like 6 points below them.
Well, Hayward only played, one play, and then he catch the touchdown?
Still rated at 90-something.
Oh, no, I'm like...
I need that meme. That face Hayden just made with the shrug, I need that as a meme. That shit was fucking gold.
All right, if we got nothing else, thanks for watching. We will be back. Stuff always going on the website. Follow us on Twitter. All that will be down in the description. Remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, we will.
Blogs are coming out like crazy. Click them, read them. I know you people aren't that fucking busy. Go give them a read, man. I know you like sports.
I usually make mine pretty short too, so it'll be a quick read.
They're all usually short, unless it's Malachi that he's working real hard on like a school project. But that's all right.
That's all right. All right. Peace.
See y'all.